I didn't know what to expect from Dreamworks' Dog Man. I really liked the Captain Underpants movie and was especially a fan of the books when I was a youngin', but I never exactly kept up with the Dogman books since each of them kind of felt samey to me. So even with the great animation and promising trailer, I was a little apprehensive. But after finally having watched the movie after a month and a half of it already being out, it was fun, with a boatload of asterisks. Dogman follows the titular Dogman made out of the body of a fallen officer and the head of his loyal dog after a bomb accident, and as morbid as that sounds and as cool as that could be for baby's first body horror, it mostly just gets right past that in the first 10 minutes. And to my knowledge, the movie combines various elements from all of the Dogman books, and it feels like it. From the relationship between Dogman and the Chief, Petey and Lil Pete's subplot, Lil Pete's connection with Dogman, Flippy the Fish, voiced by Ricky Gervais, and the whole buildings coming alive thing. It definitely feels like a cluttered plot, especially with the fish being given some focus when he absolutely did not need any. But I can say that Petey and Lil Pete's father-son dynamic is the best part and what is the easiest to connect to in this film. It says something pretty thoughtful about how the trauma we experience in our upbringing can affect how we interact with future generations, and even coming to understand that it might be good for them to interact with good influences if you find it too difficult to take care of them on your own. It's also really funny to think of this as some sort of origin story for Perry and Doof's dynamic. Pete Davidson gives a great performance as Petey, and I really loved the fired intern character and her dry humor, and really wished there was more of her. I also found it funny that there was a character who was literally a robot named ADHD. That got a chuckle out of me. In comparison to Captain Underpants, there are two aspects of the movie that I like better here, the animation and the score. Not to diss on Captain U's animation, which stellarly sold the look of the graphic novels at the time, but this takes it to the nth level with dropped frame rates and visual effects emulating scribbles and sketches, exactly the kind of thing George and Harold would draw. But I am going to diss on Captain U's music because, and I am gonna make so many people mad when I say this, the reason why that movie doesn't rank super high on my Dreamworks tier list anymore is because I honestly hate the score. Other than the Weird Al song, you can pluck the score from the film and give it to any other generic kids movie. It is very typically mainstream. Whereas Dogman has a very wacky and Looney, jazzy sounding score that sounds excellent and very recognizable as a sort of lighthearted cop movie soundtrack. But when you compare their plots, Captain Underpants wins by a mile since, as I said, Dogman's story is an absolute mess. The sheer number of subplots reminds me of your average Illumination movie, and that is a bad thing to remind your audience of. But even more alarming than that, I think, is the pacing. It's not just the whole Dogman body horror thing that doesn't get any time to breathe, but every joke and scene feels like it's just hurrying along and trying to rush to get to the next part of the story. And that's indicative of this movie's biggest flaw in my opinion, and y'all might disagree with me on this, but I don't care. The editing for this movie is absolute dog shit. Pun intended. The scenes don't just feel cut off, they are cut off at a very rapid pace that just made me dizzy when I was watching this. While yes, it does align with the wacky nature of the books probably, it was just too much for me. In fact, I got way more of the wacky Looney mileage out of the recent Looney Tunes movie, The Day the Earth Blew Up, which I'll very quickly breeze through here to advertise this movie more than the marketing team has. This was one of those Warner movies that was going to get axed before an independent distributor swooped in to save it, and thank goodness it did, because it is so great to see traditional 2D animation in theaters again. A movie about Daffy Duck and Porky Pig saving the world from an alien invasion with gum and hijinks ensue. It's fun, it's funny, it's loony, and you need to go watch it in theaters today because greedy corporate CEOs need to see that people care about American 2D animation. Anyway, Dogman is pretty okay. It's fun, it's beautiful, it's jazzy, it's occasionally heartwarming, but it is a detriment that it tries to adapt like 5+ books, and even more of a detriment that its literal ADHD pacing and editing is pretty headache-inducing. 5 out of 10. Not bad, but honestly has a lot of technical issues that hold it back from being legitimately good. And really quickly, I want to breeze through a movie that I have been looking forward to for over a year now, that I was finally able to watch just recently, Trapezium, the latest of Cloverworks' original films that I was greatly disappointed was only given 2 days in September for a limited theatrical run and was only made available online literally 2 days before my 2024 video went up. But aside from Crunchyroll being a piss-poor distributor, it turned out to be a fantastic film about a freshman in high school assembling a crew of teenage girls to become an upstart idol group by way of emotional manipulation, gaslighting. This is one of those unlikable protagonist gets a reality check movies, and as such, having an unlikable protagonist is almost always a risk, as their eventual turnaround needs to match the weight of every terrible thing they've done. With that said, I do think Azuma is on the better end of those kinds of characters, as her cleverness and tenacity is admirable, as well as being given fantastic expression range via the animation, and the eventual aha moment when she finally sees the pain she's inflicted on her friends is so emotionally devastating that it almost made me cry. However, the actual apology does kind of pale in comparison and makes me wish she had a more visceral and sincere turnaround. But all around, this film is amazing through its stunning beauty and fun music, and the characters and their personalities working really well off each other. It starts off lighthearted and fun with the expected underlying tension before one single plot point suddenly plunges the film into 40 minutes of dread and self-loathing. It is a visceral exploration into looking inside yourself and picking apart what needs to go away and what should be brought out. And though the ending does leave more to be desired, as I said, it does reaffirm that as long as you are able to check yourself, it's never too late to do the right thing. I give it an 8 out of 10. But can we finally get an anime that actually critiques and condemns the idol industry, please? Actually, out of those types of anime, Girls Band Cry is probably my favorite. Again, go watch The Day the Earth Blew Up in theaters. The Captain Underpants movie is still a good film to go back to from time to time. If you want more wacky, unbridled fun, watch Spy X Family or last year's The Concierge. So what did you think of Dogman? Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Thank you for watching, and catch you next time.